Welcome to the second layer of the 4chan iceberg chart, where we explore the more obscure corners of 4chan. If you're curious about how 4chan attempted to ruin Apple or nearly caused an alien invasion, stay tuned. But I also have some gross stories for you, including one about a guy who tampered with your Burger King ingredients. If you're one of those people who loves to eat there, this is the third part of my iceberg series. So remember to subscribe to stay tuned. Without further ado, let's dive into this series together.
A Burger King employee in Mayfield Heights standing in 2 lettuce bins. Pretty gross.
Everyone knows how fast food is not good for you. Many times we are served with gene-manipulated foods with questionable quality.
Ultra-processed food affects people's mental abilities.
Now, phthalates are industrial chemicals used to make plastics more flexible. They can get into food during processing and potentially...
But when you eat the chicken, you eat the cow, you eat the hormones.
But an anonymous 4chan user wanted to take this one step further. How do you ask? To answer that, we need to go back to July 16, 2012, when a photo was posted on 4chan's B-board. The image showed is a Burger King employee standing in a trace of lettuce with the caption, "This is the lettuce you eat at Burger King."
Disgusting. Oh my god, ew! That's repulsive. I'm not eating there ever again. Oh my god, ew!
Truly disgusting behavior, as every one of us expects to be served with fresh and clean ingredients, even if it's Burger King. Some consider this at first glance to be just another low-effort attempt at trolling. But what made this photo truly legendary was the consequences, as 4chan loves to hold people accountable. The post went live at 11:38 PM on July 16, and mere 20 minutes later the Burger King in question was alerted about the employee. But how did 4chaners manage to pinpoint him down so fast? Well, the 4chan dwellers examined the metadata of the photo. You see, the Burger King employee hadn't removed the X-file data from the uploaded photo, so they managed to find his location in Mayfield Heights, Ohio.
Ever heard of it? Whenever you take a digital photograph, information is always attached to whichever picture you take. And if you post that picture online, that info goes with it. So people have the ability to see when you took the picture, what kind of camera it was taken with, whether you used a flash or not. Some programs will even show you a map. So even though it may...
And just 10 minutes later, at around 11:58, a link was posted to the BK's Tell Us About section on the online forum with the photo attached. Then the Cleveland Scene magazine caught a hang of this and contacted the BK in question the next day.
And when this pic was posted, it left lettuce trails right back to the scene of the crime. Burger King gave us this statement. They said, "Food safety is a top priority at all Burger King restaurants, and the company maintains a zero-tolerance policy against any violations, such as these ones in question."
When questioned, the breakfast shift manager said, "Oh, I know who this is. He's getting fired." So basically 4chan cancelled this guy in a matter of minutes, just showing you how quickly our online community can identify and punish bad behavior. Truly extraordinary.
Number 15, Burger King foot lettuce. The last thing you'd want in your Burger King burger is someone's foot fungus, but as it turns out, that might be what you get.
I don't have legal guardianship of him, but for the next 48 hours, he's with me. So, and we gonna go full crazy.
Okay, you probably knew that the pop icon Justin Bieber was multiple times targeted by 4chaners.
Tasteless prank organized by a bunch of internet trolls from 4chan.
Posted this message on 4chan's infamous B section. Let's start a self for Bieber campaign, tweet a bunch of pics of people themselves, and claim we did it because Bieber was smoking weed. What the f?
So let's talk about the time they wanted to ship him to North Korea. It all started when Justin Bieber's team launched an online poll in 2010, asking fans to vote on where he should perform next. The campaign was designed to engage with the global fanbase, but 4chaners had an idea, why not to hijack the vote and send Justin Bieber to North Korea. Many of you know that the country's government tightly controls foreign influences and has little interest in popular culture, especially from the West. So Justin Bieber was just a perfect fit for such a country. But the internet trolls of 4chan weren't aiming for realism. They wanted to make headlines and poke fun at the Bieber's fanbase. The campaign succeeded in bringing North Korea to the top of the poll, spreading widespread media coverage. It definitely sparked news articles, but Justin Bieber never performed in North Korea. This was just another prank by 4chaners, just to show how easily polls can be manipulated.
Apple is like a ship with a hole in the bottom, leaking water. And my job is to get the ship pointed in the right direction.
Can we agree that Apple products are quite pricey? They are definitely a premium brand, and with that there is no wonder how the prices of their stocks are highly valuable and sought after. But there is a way how to get a discount on these stocks. Let me tell you the story of how 4chan managed to crash Apple stock prices. This originated from the iReport, a user-generated news platform run by CNN, where 4chaners decided to make up a fake story about how Steve Jobs, Apple's iconic co-founder, has suffered a major heart attack. It quickly spread across forums and social media, causing panic among investors. Within hours, Apple's stock prices dropped by nearly 10%, erasing billions of dollars in market value. But it was quickly debunked by Steven, as he said, "Reports of my death are greatly exaggerated." The stock would later eventually rebound, but if you're thinking about investing in stocks, please remember to calculate the risk with the 4chan factor included. This really shows the vulnerability of both financial markets and online news platforms. It just shows how easily false information could spread. And also, this wasn't an isolated case.
It's so sad Steve Jobs died of ligma.
Who the hell is Steve Jobs?
Ligma balls.
This is quite a tricky topic to cover, but a quite absurd one once again. As you see, 4chaners love to make mayhem and love to make people laugh. Now the humor type is here quite questionable, as humor like this would get you in jail in Germany in a blink of an eye. But I think that people in America were also quite shocked when they looked up Google 100 trends, and there it was. On the first place was a term called swastika top hat. This entry is once again a prime example of internet's ability to cause and manipulate algorithms for no reason other than chaos. The phrase swastika top hat doesn't have any meaning. It's simply a random combination of words chosen by trolls to exploit Google's trending search algorithm. This was also documented in the Los Angeles Times with the rise and the fall of the Google swastika. This happened the same week one of my favorite cell phones was released, the iPhone 3GS, and the term top hat managed to surpass it on the trendings list. Various theories started to circulate about this phenomenon. A blogger called Dan from TDIXP pointed out that the swastika was a traditional Chinese good luck symbol, and perhaps it had something to do with the upcoming Olympics. Additionally, the Chinese press reported about a scandal where a mural featuring a Nazi-inspired swastika was displayed on a building in Xi'an. So here comes the kicker. Despite the attention, it was later revealed that these searches came from the US, so maybe there was a movement on a rise, but as you can guess, the busy dwellers thought of this as being a funny idea. For the trolls involved, the campaign wasn't about spreading a message, it was about proving a point they could manipulate a massive corporation's algorithm with minimal effort. The same thing happened with Justin Bieber and Apple. These campaigns would reveal flaws in the algorithmic systems and serve as a reminder of how easily technology can be exploited.
But this is a sign that one woman who lives in this area didn't expect to see. The words "pools closed" with the image of a black man posted on the gate behind me.
We mentioned this in the previous layer where we talk about Anonymous, but let's dive a bit more deeper into the Habbo raid. If you were active in the mid-2000s, you might remember the Habbo Hotel, which was a virtual MMO game, and a popular one at that, and this entry refers to the Pool Close campaign organized by 4chan. It was once again a series of raids carried by the group Anonymous against the online social networking site Habbo Hotel, where the members of the group formed human blockades to obstruct the entry points of popular hangouts with their avatars, dressed in afros and in business suits.
For example, messing with online children's games like Habbo Hotel. The pranks are often anti-Semitic or racist and always posted on the internet.
The first raid was launched sometime in summer of 2006 after rumors began to spread on 4chan that some Habbo moderators had tendencies to ban users based on the color scheme of their avatars. And because of this, the group Anonymous started to flood their servers with their avatars, and they would all type in the chat, "The pool is closed due to AIDS." Even a piece of software was developed called the Pool Tool, which is quite a hilarious name, which was released as a freeware to provide tips on how to unban a character, spam phrases repeatedly, and bypass the censor filter in the chat. Also, a quite notable thing is to add here that some people decided to protest in Finland and decided to dress as the pool closed guys. Even though this was a quite noble moment, using avatars to form a was perhaps an unnecessary thing to do, but that's how 4chaners work, I guess.
According to some websites, this image is associated with a group of hackers who invaded a children's social networking site, blocking the virtual pool at a virtual hotel. Mary Alice says some people suggested it was just an online inside joke brought to the real world.
A joke is when two people laugh. I'm not laughing.
Trayvon Martin, a Miami teenager, was coming from the store, from the 7-Eleven.
Did Trayvon Martin ask you if you wanted anything before he left for the store?
Yes.
What was that?
Skittles.
The story of Martin is the darkest entry in this layer. It is the part of the chart where we start diving into disturbing stuff. First of all, who was Martin in the first place? Well, he was a simple teenager from Sanford, Florida, described by his family and friends as a bright, energetic and loving individual. He enjoyed spending time with his family, playing video games and watching sports. He was also willing to work for his money, and he also had a strong interest in aviation. Sadly, Martin's life was cut short in 2012 when he was only 17, whose death sparked nationwide protests and debates about racial injustice in the US.
Thousands seeking justice in the shooting of an unarmed teen are getting ready to rally for Trayvon Martin in San...
At the same time this happened, many online communities railed in the support of Martin and his family. But there is a completely other side of this story. As the entry says, this is about Martin's hacked email account. After his death, trolls from 4chan decided to hack his Gmail account and eventually managed to leak his personal information. They also started to post racial comments and memes mocking his death, further fueling tensions surrounding this case. I feel that this entry deserves a bit more attention, so here we go. What was the cause of Martin's death? Zimmerman, a neighborhood watch volunteer, spotted Martin and called the Sanford police, saying he looked suspicious. Because the police didn't show up, a few minutes later the two got in a confrontation.
Something's wrong with him. Yeah, he's coming to check me out. He's got something in his hands. I don't know what his deal is. They always get away.
Are you following him?
Yeah.
Okay, we don't need you to do that.
Okay.
And Zimmerman ended up shooting Martin in the chest, killing him. During this confrontation, Zimmerman was apparently injured. He claimed he shot Martin in self-defense, and at first, he wasn't charged.
Zimmerman says he was defending himself, while others question why he was following a minor who lived in that community in the first place.
They always get away.
Are you following him?
Yeah.
Okay, we don't need you to do that.
Also, Zimmerman was known for selling Confederation flags and also guns, and he was arrested for using racial slurs, so make with this info what you want. The case quickly polarized the public, with many viewing Martin as a victim of racial profiling and Zimmerman as a symbol of injustice. Media outlets extensively covered this incident. Protests erupted nationwide demanding Zimmerman's arrest and trial. The police would later explain there wasn't simply enough evidence to contradict his self-defense claim, and Florida's stand your ground law prevented them from making an arrest.
And then I heard a hard breath man come and say, "What you doing around here?" And then I started hearing a little bit turn on saying, "Get off, get off."
Then what did you hear?
And then the second later, the phone hung up.
However, after the case gained national attention, Zimmerman was eventually charged and went on trial. In July of 2013, a jury found him not guilty of second-degree murder and manslaughter. This would cause even more of an outcry. The internet became a battleground. Suddenly hashtags like "Justice for Trayvon" started to pop up.
Here at home, outrage over the fatal shooting of 17-year-old Trayvon Martin is spreading now around the country. On Wednesday, marchers took to the streets in New York City and in Miami. Protesters are calling for the arrest of the shooter. Neighborhood Watch volunteer George Zimmerman.
But let's focus on the hacking part. It was done by an anonymous user, which first of all just shows you how chaotic and evil the internet can be. The hacker would leak everything, from Martin's email, photos, social media posts, even school records. All of this was later shared online through platforms like 4chan and Reddit and many other. But why would somebody do this? Well, apparently to shed light on the situation and portray Martin in a bad light. Critics of Martin had pointed out his tattoos, one of them being an empty Mary Jane bag. Also, they leaked some messages from his cell phone to claim that he had a violent nature, and they are trying to keep this information away from the public. The anonymous hacker was also apparently a white supremacist.
Revelations surfaced that the teen's high school had suspended him 3 times for offenses including vandalism, tardiness, and truancy, and at the time of his death, a 2-week suspension for a baggie containing marijuana residue found inside his book bag. The family reacted angrily, accusing Sanford police of maligning their son.
They've killed my son, and now they're trying to kill his reputation.
To make this situation even worse, people thought it would be a great thing to spread even more disinformation to portray Martin even in a worse light. As racist and dehumanizing comments would start to pop up everywhere, users would use the leaked information to slowly shift the narrative around Martin's death. Suddenly the group Anonymous showed up and targeted George Zimmerman by releasing what they claimed were his personal details, including email accounts and phone numbers. While their action was controversial, they tried to bring justice to this case, some claim. But Martin's case raised significant ethical questions about boundaries of internet activists and the misuse of personal information. I know they wanted to dig up the truth, but many people view this as unethical and illegal invasion of privacy. Also, the lack of accountability caused quite a few problems for the law enforcement, especially when they occur on decentralized and anonymous communities like 4chan. This is quite a deep rabbit hole, but I think this would give you a good explanation of the case. Also, Zimmerman decided to file a $100 million lawsuit against the family in December of 2019, claiming false evidence and abuse of process. However, in February of 2022, the judge dismissed the case, stating there was no evidence to back Zimmerman's accusations. Also, a memorial was dedicated to Martin at the Goldsboro Westside Historical Museum, a Black History museum in Sanford, in July of 2013. That same year at the White House, President Obama was also talking about Martin and the shooting and said, "If I had a son, he would look like Trayvon, and I think that his parents are right to expect that all of us Americans are going to take this with the seriousness it deserves." And also, I don't need to tell you that this also sparked a better profiling about the laws regarding self-defense and I hope you see the seriousness of this case. Now let's go to the next entry, which is a bit more lighthearted.
Do you regret that you killed Trayvon Martin?
Unfortunately, the Department of Justice is conducting a civil rights investigation. So those are the types of questions that, because of the investigation, I have to tread lightly and I can't answer them.
We all acknowledge the existence of 4chan, but we do not mention, provoke, or try to monopolize 4chan in any way.
4chan with Tumblr was quite a sight to behold. This was the war of two cultures. To understand this war, we need to first explore the platforms themselves, and for the sake of this video, I will try to keep this as compact as I can. So, on the one side we have Tumblr, the home of fandoms, art, social justice, advocacy, and quirky humor. It was a space where users celebrated creativity and self-expression, often posting about their favorite shows, social causes, and personal struggles. Tumblr's cultural roots are connected with a sense of community and progressive ideologies. And on the other side, we have 4chan, an anonymous image board, infamous for its lack of moderation and anything goes mentality. 4chan users love to troll people, shock humor, controversial content, and often using their anonymity as a shield to say whatever they want. You can think of these two sites almost like yin and yang. Because 4chan's audience was predominantly male, Tumblr users often viewed 4chan as a breeding ground for toxic masculinity and for people who love to harass other people online. Meanwhile, 4chan users mock Tumblr users for their oversensitivity, performative activism, and cringe fandom behavior, if this makes sense. These tensions came to an eruption in 2040 when 4chan's B-board declared war on Tumblr. First they started a raid, just like on 𝙀𝙭𝙥𝙥𝙀𝙀. Again, the things they were accused of were, let's say, true. I mean, they orchestrated their attack by choosing fandom heavy tags like Supernatural, Doctor Who, and Sherlock, Tumblr's most popular fandoms, let's say. And they flooded these tags with shocking content like gore, and offensive memes.
Basically, they can't go on any tag because every tag is basically filled with gore. It's not fun, it's actually pretty serious.
Their goal was to disrupt the cozy community and provoke an outrage. And they did succeed with that, but Tumblr didn't back down. And the users of Tumblr would retaliate in the most Tumblr way possible, let's say, with humor and relentless positivity. They coordinated their own raids on 4chan, flooding their boards with that was tailored to annoy 4chan users. This included pastel edits of meme, over-dramatically fandom crossovers, and aggressively positive messages. This was definitely something that 4chan didn't expect, but over time the war fizzled out and faded to obscurity. The 4chan with Tumblr war may seem a bit absurd in hindsight, but this feud would also foreshadow larger cultural battles on the internet, which followed in the next years. And now let's go to the last entry of this layer.
Makeup, turning up DNA anomalies that I can only classify as alien.
Don't think of this entry as something you would see usually on Vinigo's channel. Oh boy. This is way more serious. Well, a grey alien, besides the green one, are the most recognizable things in terms of cryptids and the world of UFOs. Also, if you are somehow into cryptids and wild stories about ominous creatures, there is a 4.5 long chart waiting just for you on my site that desperately needs some love. Now, the grey alien is a symbol of extraterrestrial life that has captivated the internet and pop culture for decades. Grey aliens would often have large heads, almond-shaped eyes, and slender bodies, and they would drive around the sky in their shiny UFOs. They would gain prominence in the mid-20th century through alleged abduction stories and sightseeings, becoming the default image of extraterrestrial life in popular culture. I mean, you watch things like X-Files. Weren't you terrified while watching this as a kid? As it definitely left a mark on me, especially the music. But to not get off topic, what the hell has the green alien to do with 4chan? Well, on November 21, a user on 4chan posted an image to the paranormal board, or X, of what was claimed to be an alien. The image was accompanied with the following text. This was a picture that was taken from inside a car that I was working on. The full story was, I was working on it about at 11 PM and I heard a bang on the front of the car. I thought it was a raccoon. So I took a picture with a flashlight to scare it off. But when I took the picture, I got this. Having seen this, I turned on my flashlight only to see that it has disappeared. I had matched up the pictures next to the car and the wall behind it and measured how tall it would be, and it was about 8 feet. Can anybody tell me if this was a prank on me or if this was real? Honestly, I think it's real. The alien resembles a typical grey alien with slight differences. The most notable thing is how tall the grey alien was. The original post garnered over 400 comments in the response. The image was later shared on Reddit, particularly on the subreddit r/alien, where it received even more attention. And this was the picture in question. And I don't know how this picture managed to receive so much traction, but it somehow did. I mean, the dashboard of the car looks like it was cropped from Borderlands, and the alien looks so terrified, the same way you look at me when I ask you to subscribe to my channel. But again, this is a part of 4chan history. Also, I wanna add a very small bonus and a quick story here, where 4chaners shared a story of a guy who took a picture of an alien.
Babbling, saying, you know, oh my god, it's alive, and hoping maybe it would run away. But it didn't. It stayed in the freezer.
The story goes that a man by the name Jonathan Reed was minding his own business while being in a forest and suddenly saw a huge alien, and suddenly he decided to pick up a tree branch and beat the alien to his death.
Eric, for God's sake, knock it off! Respect my daughter!
Just imagine traveling through galaxies to find intelligent life, and you end up in a forest on Earth, and suddenly you're getting beat to death by a guy with a tree branch who looks like Magnum, who would eventually then lock you up in his freezer.
You know, of military type people, beating people up, killing them, or threatening their lives to make them silent.
I mean, this could spark an intergalactical war. But sadly we are all here and the war was avoided. And I'm so sorry for making this video a bit shorter than the last two. The reason being that 27 November should have been the 19th birthday of my brother, so again I took some time off to visit my family and just to be around them. These are very challenging times in my life and I don't know how to cope with all this. But hey, at least I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope I will see you in the next one. And if you're somehow still watching, just a huge thank you. And that's all from me now, I guess. Like always, stay safe. Bye.
Viewer discretion is advised.
Have you ever had one of those moments where reality seems to glitch? Like something isn't quite right, like spotting a stranger in the distance who looks exactly like you but disappears in a blink of an eye, or the feeling of being stalked by a shadowy figure during a quiet evening walk. Maybe you even seen some bizarre things like a hiccup that you would usually see in a video game, but this time it did happen right in front of your eyes. These are the eerie moments that left you questioning everything you know about the world around you. But what would you do if I told you there is another reality? A glitch that would pull you out of our world and transcend you into that place where you would wake up to a smell of an old moist carpet accompanied by the endless background noises of fluorescent lights buzzing at the home. Because this series is dedicated to 4chan's darkest corners, it would be a shame to not talk about the very uncanny and mundane concept that took over the internet, at least over the horror part of the internet. So I wanted to throw a little bit extra for you this time and I hope you don't mind. So this entry, if you didn't figure out, is about the backrooms. What are the backrooms, where they originate from, and why do I find them very interesting, we will discuss right now. In May of 2019, on X, or the paranormal board, there was a post by an anonymous user who posted a picture of an empty room with yellow wallpaper, fluorescent lights and a damping looking carpet, something we know now as the original backroom. People said that the picture seemed off and that a sense of unease would shiver down the spine as they looked at this uncanny post. Along the image there was a brief description that introduced us to the concept of no clipping out of reality, a term borrowed from video games, where if you bump into a wall there is a chance you could get through it, often resulting that you would find yourself trapped in an endless and eerie silent maze. The original post captured something profoundly unsettling in my opinion. While the image itself depicted an ordinary room, the idea of being lost in a vast, seemingly infinite series of such spaces resonated with many. It drew on the concept of liminal spaces, locations that feel familiar yet strange, such as empty malls, parking garages, or abandoned office buildings. These places evoke a sense of nostalgia and unease, making you feel like you're stuck between two worlds. On 4chan, the description warned of the dangers of the backroom with this quote: "Endlessly wandering, a fate of humming fluorescent lights and the entities lurking in the shadows." The initial combination of this image and the text struck a chord, leading to an interest that would only grow over time. This is something similar to the SCP projects. This is something we covered on my Disturbing Games Iceberg chart, if you remember, where friends would start to create their own stories and concepts that would later spread on other platforms. Fans imagined the backrooms as a multi-level universe, with level 0 being the original yellow walled room, which follows with the level 1, which often featured industrial settings, while level 2 could introduce oppressive heat and hostile mechanical entities. What makes the backroom so weird and ominous is that it taps into the fundamental human fears. The dread of isolation, the terror of the unknown, and the uncanny familiarity of liminal spaces. It has a minimalistic horror aesthetic. Many would say the backrooms have a strong nostalgic undertones. The yellow walls and buzzing lights evoke memories of office spaces or school corridors, environments that you probably encountered in your life. People would also often claim that they would see strange things happening in their lives, things that seem quite off. Most would argue that these are the glitches we encounter in our everyday life, which we need to avoid at all costs to not end up in the other world. Even if the backrooms look interesting, there are things there that just wait for you to unclip into their world. Humanoid looking things resembling dogs, which would walk on all fours, often emitting a distorted cry. If you somehow manage to come across their path, run immediately in the opposite direction. But this became much more than a post or a concept, as there are people claiming that this is very much real, with even complete instructions on how to get there. Maybe, just maybe, the next time you bump into a wall or simply go to sleep, you will transcend into this world. And if you're interested into the backrooms a little bit more and you wanna be prepared, just let me know. God save you if you hear something wandering around nearby, because it sure as hell has heard you.